think that the black Americans have been the only real diehard Americans here, because we're the only ones who've carried the process through the process. That everyone else has to sort of like skip stages. We're the ones who marched, we're the ones who carried the Bible, we're the ones who carried the flag, we're the ones who tried to go through the courts. And being born American didn't seem to matter. Because we were born Americans, but we still had to fight for what we were looking for. And we still had to go through those channels and those processes.
I don't really care what you have to say. Facts over fiction is the motto replay. Muhammad Ali came up from the clay. Grassroots built up this USA. Now knowing your history, you'll get played. Equip yourself cause you came to slay any opponent that's up in our way. Look at Malcolm X and his deliberate.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. I'm just gonna make sure that our audio is good to go before we start. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. All right, looks like the audio is good to go. This is Emin the Mass Media Group. Happy Sunday. Today is August. Is today August? Aha. Today is not August. It's October.
In October, bro. Yeah.
I was trying to make sure people were paying attention.
Well, wait. Be woke.
It's October, not August. Even though Black August is every month. For some of us, just welcome. How you doing, Brother Tony?
I'm doing great. Brother Moya Glass. Yeah, I guess Black August is every day for us, even in September, huh? In October.
And November and December.
December. Yeah.
All 4 seasons. All right, brother.
It's Black Day every day.
Right. So we're going to get into some of these repair packages, and it's Prop 50. So we're going to be breaking it down for sure, man. So once again, brother, appreciate you as always for your great intellectual capacity and awareness, not only within this reparations space, but for the community at large, brother. So we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, man. But before, we got to always do some housekeeping. But before we do some housekeeping, man, I just want to give a moment of silence to our good brother, Michael Eugene Archer, known as D'Angelo. So I was going to cut the music off for a quick second and then get a quick pause just for a moment of silence here for our good brother. All right, shout out to a good brother D'Angelo, man. May his return be peaceful and prosperous, man. So shout out to D'Angelo, man. All right, so let's get to some housekeeping. If you have yet not seen reparationsnow.com, go to reparationsnow.com, or you can also go on Tubi to check out the documentary Reparations Now Part 2. And we are working on Reparations Now Part 2. Did I say Part 2? I meant reparations. We're working on Reparations Now Part 2, the betrayal, in 2026. So be on the lookout for that. And I know y'all shop on Amazon, hit that affiliate link. It is in the description. You can support us there, and it is free. Also go to our shop, etnmediagroupstore.com. That's etnmediagroupstore.com to get your latest merch in the building. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I can't forget about this. Got the book out, Mr. Uncomfortable, about love and relationship narrative. So go check that out. You can subscribe to Mr. Uncomfortable Truth on YouTube or go to MrUncomfortable.com. Coming out with the audio book, man. Been working on that audio book for the last couple months, man. It's gonna be fire, family. So when that drops, definitely take a look at that. And no, I'm not doing AI. There's no AI involved in this. I actually hired professional voiceover actors. And yep, so that's it. So greatly appreciate that support. And brother, let's actually, before we get into the nitty and gritty, I just want to read the SNAP program, for the community. Because for those that don't know, SNAP benefits actually may be facing an insufficient funds coming up in November if the shutdown, meaning the federal government, is shut down. That's what the USDA warns. Americans who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, to buy food may be affected as soon as, this upcoming November, family. Ongoing government shutdowns. In a letter to the state agencies dated October 10th, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said there will not be enough funding to pay the entirety of November SNAP benefits if the shutdown continues. Some government agencies effectively shut down beginning October 1st after congressional leaders failed to agree on federal funding allocations for the 2026 fiscal year. Without an end in sight, the shutdown appears slated to continue further into October, which is already at least half in the month of October. The longest government shutdown lasted 35 days between December 2018 and January 2019. If the shutdown lasts beyond October, it could exhaust the USDA's contingency plan, and the Trump administration could decide whether to tap into the multi-year fund. In 2024, SNAP was used by a monthly average of 41.7 million people, or about 12.3% of the U.S. population, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Brother Tony.
Yes.
Any words of wisdom on this one, brother?
Yes. As we know, SNAP program, as it is formerly called the food stamp program, now it's called the Supplemental Assistance Program. Here in California, it's called CalFresh. So most of those dollars, and just to let you know, there's at least about 5 million, I believe, or less. I have to check up on the number, but I'm thinking it's around 5 million that it gets assistance from CalFresh, the SNAP program, which is practically fully funded by the federal government. So we can see why, this current administration, wants to impact that. And it's really going to cause some issues. The CalFresh offices and SNAP offices and WIC offices, women, infants, and children offices are still open here in the state of California. They said they're going to do as much as they can to tell people to still attend their appointments. But now it seems like, some of that money is going to be dried up, and the states might have to, fill in to, try to keep that going, because we don't know when the shutdown is going to end, Brother Glass. That's the whole point of it. And this is going to be really things like I hate to see it, we're talking about food hunger here. If this thing continue on as long as, it has, to the next, whenever, because, it's going to seem like it's going to pass 35 days this time around. I think the last shutdown was back in 2017, 2018 or something like that. So this is going to be a little bit longer. Some of the food banks across the state, there are suffering shortages as well. So we'll see. I mean, the only thing that the Trump administration was open to do was to pay the military personnel, but nothing else much further than that. So, as I said, it's about 5 million recipients who depend on the assistance from CalFresh / SNAP. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It doesn't look good, especially with these reports coming out the way they are. So we have to stay on top of that too. So it's just really disturbing, what's happening here.
Absolutely, man, and that's just kind of shows you like the priority of this current administration, and maybe other administrations as who came into the fold. But in particular, since we're dealing with present, this is the current administration that we're dealing with, right?
Right. I fought the Democrats and Republicans on this, but
absolutely,
because they really need to get into the room and try to iron these things out. I know, on the Democrat side, they're fighting for health care for all individuals, specifically trying to save whatever they can from Obamacare. But then again, on the other side, with the Republicans, they want to make these cuts. They want to snap out these type of social programs. And really, they have all the power. If you ask me, the Republicans, you could say yay or nay what's going on, because y'all have, the Republicans are over the control. But, in this instance, it takes two to tango, and it's not going to happen until, they get into a room. And I don't know what's going on with Speaker Mike Johnson. He's steadily pointing fingers when you're the man. You're the,
right.
And you would shut down the government, or at least tell the senators and the House of Representatives to go on a vacation during the shutdown. That really doesn't make any type of sense to me. But I think there's some other things behind that, but I won't go into these type of details. But overall, bottom line, both of these parties are responsible for the shutdown, and they need to get their act together to get things straightened out.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Point well taken. So, man, let's get into it. I'm gonna bring up a couple articles here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's see here. So we're going to be talking about Proposition 50. All right, first, and then we'll go ahead and get into. Let's see. All right, so let's go ahead, blow this up a little bit. Now, I'm not going to read this full article. This came from Ballotpedia. All right, so here, okay. All right, so what would Proposition 50 change about congressional districts in California? Proposition 50 would authorize the state to use a new congressional district map from Assembly Bill 604. We're actually going to be reading that bill a little bit. It's actually not that long. The new congressional map would be used to elect members of the U.S. House of Representatives. So that's on the federal side. From 2026 through 2030, the proposed map would replace the existing maps, which the 14-member Citizens Redistricting Commission adopted on December 27th, 2021. For elections from 2022 through 2030, Proposition 50 would provide that the Citizens Redistricting Commission will withdraw congressional districts in 2031. AB 604 contains the proposed congressional district map, which cannot take effect without voter approval of Proposition 50. According to Kyle Klondike and J. Miles Coleman, this map would give Democrats a chance to win up to 5 additional seats. 3 of their targeted seats would be fairly easy pickups, while 2 of them would be more like toss-ups. The former 3 seats are Representatives Doug LaMalfa, who's a Republican,
yes.
District 1, Kevin Kiley, he's Republican, District 3, and Kevin Colbert, Republican, District 41, while the latter 2 seats described as toss-ups are David Valladio, who's a Republican, District 22, and Darrell Issa, Republican, District 38. So yeah, brother, I'm gonna show the maps and so forth, but what's your take so far on kind of what's happening with this Proposition 50?
You did mention the significance of what maps will be affected. LaMalfa, I think he's around the North Coast area, so we're talking about Santa Rosa, Hillsburg, and some places up there. They cut in to that district. But here's what's interesting that I've discovered that was revealed earlier this week. Richard Pan from here in Sacramento, who is a state assembly person and senator, he's running for Congress, and he's going to be running against Kevin Kiley, who represent currently the 3rd Congressional District. And his areas, what areas did Kiley represent? Alpine, El Dorado County, Nevada County, Placer County, so that's part of Roseville, Plumas, and part of Sacramento. So that new map, what I found interesting, and that would put, I believe it would put Pan in his district, or for whatever reason. Part of South Sacramento is going to be part of that district that Kiley is in right now. So it cuts into parts of South Sacramento. So that kind of opened up the door for Richard Pan to run against him. As we know, Kevin Kiley is a Republican and things. So that was what I found pretty interesting about that. So that's one of the seats that they definitely going to flip. But I don't know. In these situations, I do expect a competitive campaign. Mail-in votes have already been sent out, and we have until November the 4th. That's when the special election will take place, where voters can either vote yes or no, or how they feel about this, and then those maps will change. Those maps will change, and then those campaigns will start for the 2026 midterm elections. So yeah, Richard Pan, who spent many years in the state legislature. As you know, he's a pediatrician here in Sacramento. He's been involved in politics for almost 15, 20 years around that area. He's going to take a shot at Kiley's spot, and that could flip one of the Republican seats that's heard carrying. Now, we know that there's 9 Republicans in the state of California in the House of Representatives, and what the maps will do, if it's approved by the voters, it intends to flip at least 5 of those seats. So that'll take 5 away from those 9 seats that they currently have, in a rebuttal to what's happening in the state of Texas, because apparently Donald Trump made a call to the governor there and said he wants 5 more seats. So they're going to do some gerrymandering to come up with 5 extra Republican seats in Texas by the time the midterm election starts. So that's my thoughts on that. That's some of the information that's put out there that we're dealing with. And once again, Dr. Richard Pan is running for Congress against Kevin Kiley.
Yeah, we're going to see how that one shakes out, brother. All right, so as we can see on the map, go ahead, brother. You going to say something?
Well, yeah, it is not a party issue, but Mai Vane, who represent parts of South Sacramento, specifically Meadowview, she's a Democrat, and she's going to run against Doris Matsui, who's a long-term House of Representative individual.
Oh, in Congress, right?
In Congress, right.
Yeah, that's going to be, well, okay. I don't have to put this out there, but sometimes, man, we just need some new, ideas.
Yeah, that's why some of these young folks right now, who knows, going after those seats. So I understand, and that's pretty much the fever across the country. Some of these politicians on both sides of the aisle have just been in there too long, and at some point, not saying that they tune out their constituents and stuff, but sometimes they just not reaching them when they really need to reach them. Right. So that's where it becomes a problem with the status quo, and people want change, even within their own party.
Absolutely, man. All right, so as you can see, here's a quick diagram, as we talked about in the previous slide. Districts 1, 3, 22, 41, and 48. So we're briefly going to go over this graph here, as good brother Tony actually did mention a couple of the locations in District 3. But let's start off with District 1. So that covers basically Butte, Colusa, Glen, Lassen, Modoc, Shasta, etc. That's when you see on the next map, you'll see that's more in the northern California section. In District 22, it includes most of Kings County and parts of Tulare and Kern County. So you see on the map, that's more southern, mid to southern California. District 3 includes northern Sierra Nevada and northeastern suburbs of Sacramento, stretching south to Death Valley. Wow, that's quite a long district there. And once again, just to reiterate, this is on the federal level, so this is affecting Congress only. District 41, the 41st district includes most of the wealthy, majority white parts of the Coachella Valley, including the cities of Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, Indian Wells, and La Quinta. Let's see, District 48 is the East County, San Diego, as well as the Temecula Valley. Major cities in this district include Temecula, Marietta, and portions of Escondido. So that's District 48. I'm going to pull up the map here. All right, so on this map, you have some of the representatives that could potentially be affected in this upcoming Proposition 50 election. All right, so once again, you have Doug Malfa. He's a District 1. So as you can see on the map, that's Northern California. So that's sitting more so on the upper portion of California. And if the maps were switched on the right-hand side, you could see where then that district map will change. All right. And then District 3, you have Kevin Kiley. All right. So currently on the left, starting on the top, going down to the middle. It looks like, dang, yeah, that district's definitely gonna get truncated.
Mm-hmm.
If you could say on the right, because it's gonna be like, I mean that's a pretty long stretch of land there.
Look, what's that? Those areas are at least 100 miles away from South Sacramento.
Yeah.
From downtown South Sacramento, 100 miles. That's a large stretch. But then you have to factor in that, a lot of those areas are rural,
anyway,
kind of remote, right? They're low population and things like that. So, yeah, that's how the Democrats, carved it up, chopped it up. And, yeah, we got some weird, funky things. And normally that happens when you gerrymander, districts. It's all about, trying to gain an advantage and an advantage for whoever's running and the incumbent. So that's why they're doing these type of things right now, and the climate of the country right now. So, yeah. And I know, go ahead, finish. I'll
all right, cool. Yeah, let me just get through these three, and then I'll let you continue, brother. All right, so David G. Valdeo, District 22. Once again, on the left, you see District 22, and then on the right, its map's not going to change that much, but it's going to change a little bit. And then you have Kevin Calvert, District 41. That's more at the center, or down at, I should say, center. Southern California. His map might not change that much. And then Daryl Issa, District 48, is further down near the San Diego, California, Mexico border.
Wow. Orange County.
And so forth. Yes, sir. So, yes, sir. You were saying.
It hadn't always been rosy about, how these things were done, because the city of Stockton, ever since, these laws were passed to create Proposition 50. The San Joaquin and the city of Stockton, which is 35 miles south of Sacramento, have been in a little bit of an uproar, and they've been debating about how this thing was done, because Stockton was in one district, and if the voters approve Prop 50, Stockton will be split into like 3 districts, which kind of affect U.S. Congressman Josh Harder down there in that area. And it's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's just that how that the redistricting commission had made it possible for them, that the city of Stockton residents, to stay in one district. So it's going to affect the Black community down there, because part of those Black communities are going to be split into these 1, 2, or 3 districts now. And they fought to have it all in one district so they can have a voice. They could have representation in Washington, D.C. So they're kind of like, they're really upset about how these maps is going, because they had spent all their time, having hours and hours of meetings and discussions about keeping Stockton in one district. Now is going to be split into 3 districts should Proposition 50 is divided. And that's going to affect the brown community, the Latino community as well. Now, I know the Black community in Stockton, just perfectly be honest, it's not a large population down there. Just the city itself is only about 350,000. So 10% of that makes up the Black community. So we're talking about 34, 35, 36,000 Black resident. Area wise, if you count Tracy and Manteca and all that, it's probably about 1 million people in that area, but it's not a large population anywhere you go in that county of Black people. So, hey, that's Proposition 50. It's coming up. It's only 2 votes, yes or no.
Yes or no, brother. So I'm gonna read this article real quick. It's called "How Would the Prop 50 Redistricting Plan Affect Racial and Geographic Representation?" This was an article written
as I was just talking about.
Yes, sir, on October 8th. All right, so we already went into Proposition 50, what it is. Just dig into this a little bit more. All right, so it says the CRC's map had to satisfy the requirements of the Federal Voting Rights Act, the VRA, which include drawing districts for, man, brother, can I say that right? Gosh darn it. Districts.
Take your time. Take your time.
I know, right? We're going to have to take our time. Districts for voters of color who hold politically cohesive views and are numerous enough to make up a majority within a single geographical area. All right, let me blow this up a little bit. Historically, Latinos are the only group to clear this bar for the congressional map. The CRC's current congressional plan includes 16 majority Latino districts, as does the Prop 50 plan. Neither Black nor Asian Californians have a majority district in either plan. Districts can also have shares of voters of color, quote unquote, that are large enough to influence, quote unquote, or help decide electoral outcomes. Here we use 30% as the threshold for the influence. The CRC plan includes 6 Asian American, 2 Black, and 7 Latino districts that are at or above the threshold. Here, too, the proposed plan matches the current one almost exactly. It adds 1 more Latino influence district, but otherwise replicates the status quo. All right, so if you, I believe, here, let me make sure that this is being, okay. All right, so as you can see on this representation graph here, it's showing the influence districts, current districts as 6, proposed districts, 6 for Asian American. Black, there's 2 proposed districts, 2 Latino, 7 or actually it says 16 majority districts, 16 proposed, and then 7 and 8 for the influence districts. So I kind of just wanted to point that out in terms of what good brother Tony was saying, because I think, it's important that as we go through and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna try to pull up the legislation here so we could see exactly what the bill is about. How it's affecting, our community in particular. I know I'm talking about the Black American community, because there's a lot of information or misinformation about what's really going on. And, when it comes to gerrymandering and when it comes to your vote, obviously you're going to have to decide if this is going to be something beneficial or not, instead of just saying, in my humble opinion, oh, well, the Republicans, they're off the hinge. So now, I just got to go with what the Democrats are saying because this is the right thing to do. Well, I don't know. That's up to you how to decide. At the end of the day, it's your right to vote or not to vote. And here in California, obviously, it's for the people, or actually the commission. And I'm going to read a little bit about what the commission does a little bit later. It's your option to decide to or not. We're just giving you this information, brother. But while I'm looking up, brother, is there anything kind of you want to elaborate on this?
Oh no, I think you touched upon it too. I think is your choice whether you want to do it. You can ask that question. Do you think what the Democrats are doing here in California is right? But then again, you have to ask the question: what's happening in Texas if they're doing the right thing? Because remember, dude be putting in these calls and talking about he need extra votes and the January 6th thing. Now we got this going on with Texas. You have to, I just say, kind of like analyze everything on both sides to see if this is going to be the most proper, decisive way to go. It's a mess the way it is. Now, understand, California had an independent redistricting commission. So that was done by the people, not by legislators. This is going to change things around where the legislators are going to change those maps. And those maps are going to stay in place until 2030. It will not go back to the independent districting commission until 2031. And remember, we do these things every 10 years because of the U.S. Census. So in Texas, it was always the legislators' power, authority to change the maps or whatever they do with gerrymandering in that state. It was always like that anyway. They never, I'm not saying never had, but they do not have an independent redistricting commission as we do here in California. So kind of look at everything and weigh everything out. And then, like I said, you want to make the proper, appropriate decision, based on how you feel or your opinions, that's your choice. But at least check out everything to make sure you're making a sound choice. That's what I'm doing. And I'm sure a lot of other people as well. But Proposition 50 is here. And we got about, what's today, the 19th, about a little over about 2.5 weeks before the special election take place, unless some of you have already mailed in your mail-in ballots. It's coming, and you have to make a choice by then.
Yeah. All right, so who drew the Prop 50 map? Paul Mitchell, a veteran Democratic redistricting expert in Sacramento, and a group of similar consultants drew the map. Mitchell explained in an interview that he took input from California's Democratic Congressional Delegation before sending a proposed map to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. The committee then sent the proposal to the state legislature, which adopted the map as part of its vote to put Prop 50 on the November ballot, which we spoke about earlier, November 4th. The proposition would allow the state to temporarily use those proposed district lines. All right, so the article further goes on to, isn't California gerrymandered? Not really going to touch on that right now. But I did want to read, let's see, the legislation real quick, which AB 1604, the redistricting congressional district legislation, was the bill that then now inspired Proposition 5. So let's get into this real quick. Assembly Bill number 604. All right, Legislative Digest. Aguirre Curry redistricting congressional districts. The California Constitution requires the Citizens Redistricting Commission to adjust the boundary lines of the congressional, state, Senate, Assembly, and State Board of Equalization districts in the year following the year in which the national decennial census is taken, and requires the districts be redrawn in conformance with specified standards. The bill would specify the elements that define the congressional districts if ACA 8 of the 2025-2026 regular session is adopted by the voters. These provisions would become operative only if specified provisions of that constitutional amendment become operative, and would remain in effect only until a new map of congressional districts is certified by the Citizens Redistricting Commission as described above. The bill would declare that it is to take effect immediately as an urgency statute. All right. So after that, then the bill goes down and shows basically all the Census Bureau blocks that are involved in. Let's see here. Yeah, it goes quite farther down. Basically, all these zip codes and etc. These aren't zip codes. These are just what they're calling block identifiers for zip codes. So you might be in a certain district. Like, for example, here, let's say Sacramento, whole tracks within Sacramento County, and then it'll give the number there, etc. Which looks like some kind of like GPS codes. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. But if you want to take a look at it, just look up AB 604, and then it will show you your county that you're in, and etc. So that's about it, brother. It's not too lengthy. It gets straight to the point.
I see. I don't think we tried to do it that way. I was simple and direct.
Simple and direct, man. All right, so basically, I pulled up. This is from the California Citizens Redistricting Commission website. They talk about what their commission is, how the commission is selected. I guess I'll go over this real quick. The supplemental applications were forwarded to an applicant review panel consisting of 3 of, I don't even know what that says, from the California State Auditor. I guess they're auditors. After the panel reviewed all the applications, the most qualified who were then personally interviewed. So there were 120 applicants from subpools according to the party affiliation, which was then narrowed down to 60 applicants. Out of those 60 applicants to the California State Legislature, where leadership had the option, let's see, from a list of 8 from each subpool. All right, so it looks like from the members of the commission that selected the final 6 members of the commission by selecting 2 from each of the 3 subpools. All right. So what will the full commission do? The commission must hold public hearings and accept public comment. After hearing from the public and drawing the maps for the House of Representative districts, 40 Senate, 80 Assembly for Board of Equalization districts, the commission must vote on the new maps to be used for the next decade. Okay. If you want some more information on the commission or the California Citizens Redistricting Commission, you can go to their website. I believe it's, at least on this source, it says wedrawlines.ca.gov to get more information on that. All right, man.
Put that commission in place. Was voted on. It was left to the voters. This is what they wanted. They voted on it, and this is what they have. This was back in 2009, 2010 when Schwarzenegger was still in office, and this is what they wanted. Now it's going to be pretty much disrupted if Proposition 50 passed, because the commission will be non and void for at least 4 or 5 years.
All right, so I'm going to read this. This comes from the, let me see where this source comes from. I was pulling up the LAO, which is the, who are these people? Let me see here. Let me get my source correct here, because I just don't want to be.
You said the LAO. Oh, okay.
Isn't that the legislative?
That's the Legislative Analyst Office. That's they did a watchdog committee, for budget policies.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, man, I got my stuff right before I just talk. Yeah, so the Legislative Analyst Office. All right, so let's get into this here. All right, Proposition 50. I wanted to just look at the fiscal impact here, according to the LAO. Minor one-time costs to county and state elections officials. Counties run elections and the state oversees them, because most congressional districts in California would change at least some under the new maps. County and state elections office would need to update election materials, blah, blah, blah. This would result in one-time costs to counties of up to a few million dollars statewide, and one-time cost to the state of roughly $200,000. The state amount is much less than 0.1% of the state's roughly $220 billion general fund budget. All right, so according to the LAO, this could cost up to roughly $200,000. All right, I think that's about it, brother, from Proposition 50. I kind of want to segue into the bills that were vetoed or passed by Governor Gavin Newsom, if that's okay. If you have anything else to say, brother, let me know. Or
no, not on that topic. Not on that topic. So we can move forward.
Okay. All right. Let me pull this. Thanks everybody for your patience. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. Please like, share, and subscribe to Eman the Mass Media Group. And let's go into some CLBC, shall we? And let me give a shout out, man, to our family down in Los Angeles for showing up at the Taste of Soul. And they also had a community reparations informational session. So shout out to our LA advocates down there. Got to give props where props is due. All right. With our good sister, Carolyn Essex, and our good brother, Billion Godson. So shout out for them for hosting that, and all of our family, man. A shout out. I think Chris, if I believe Chris Lodgson, one of the lead organizers and volunteers for CJEC, I think he was there too. So shout out to everybody, man. Everybody for showing up. But let's get into this CLBC, quote unquote, as they're calling it, Brother Tony, repair package. That's what they're calling it.
That's what they've been calling it, the Road to Repair package that was introduced back in February. For whatever reason, maybe some of the things that took place, the legislative session before then, they didn't want to use the word reparation. So it's basically a reparative justice type of package, and excluding the word reparation. The CLBC, that is, the California Legislative Black Caucus. So, there were 16 bills that they introduced, but, well, you go ahead. We get to that.
We'll get into it. All right, so the California Legislative Black Caucus announces signing of several key legislative priorities. This is according to the CLBC's website. On October 13th, 2024, Governor Gavin Newsom signed the last of the key legislative proposals sent for consideration by the CLBC, rounding out another year of caucus-sponsored bills advocating for the advancement of descendants of United States chattel slavery. The measure is part of the CLBC's Road to Repair legislative package aimed to level the playing field for the descendants by identifying the most evident institutional harms and establishing pathways to overcome historic state-sponsored barriers to equitable social and economic prosperity. Quote, "We thank Governor Newsom for signing our historic legislative proposals," in quotes, said CLBC Chair Senator Akilah Weber Pearson, MD. California is once again the first in the nation to establish a state department tasked with ensuring equitable access for a historically marginalized community. The CLBC will continue to chart pathways to parity for slavery descendants and look forward to working with the administration in the upcoming legislative session, said Weber Pearson, MD. The collection of bills was inspired by the work of the California Reparations Task Force final report. I'll reserve my comments for later on that. A painstakingly thorough analysis of the institution of slavery in the United States and California's role in perpetuating the harms inflicted upon Black Californians. Okay, we know for 2 years, all right, we know what happened within those 2 years. Since the release of the report, the CLBC and its members have forged ahead with legislative proposals tackling the extreme disparity among descendants marred by the vicious slave-era structures that permeate today. All right, while not all of our bills were signed into law, A lot of good work has been done this year, said Weber Pearson. Progress takes time. And I'm going to repeat, progress takes time. And the CLBC will continue to fight for Black Californians. All right, the following CLBC priority bills have been signed into law. SB 518, Weber Pearson. That's the Bureau bill, so we're not going to go heavily deep into this stuff. If you followed our channel, we've been through this, but I actually created a slide that we're actually going to be talking about some notes, but we'll kind of get into that later. SB 437, Weber Pearson. That's CSU research bill. SB 464, Smallwood Cuevas, expands employee demographic data reporting for the purpose of enforcing civil rights protections. SB 510, it's Laura Richardson, requires the Instructional Quality Commission to consider including content on the historical, social, economic, and social contributions of African Americans. AB 935, Ransom. I think she's up there in Stockton, right?
Ransom is right, the Stockton, Tracy area, right? Because she was
assembly.
She was a city council, right? Yes, she's in the assembly. Yeah. She's a freshman assembly. She was on the city council, I believe, in Tracy, something like that. Yeah, I believe something. Stockton and Tracy's the same to me. I mean, they bore each other,
right? Neighbors. All right, neighbors. Required. Exactly. AB 935 requires public posting of anonymized data on civil rights complaints. All right, so this is what Gavin Newsom vetoed. AB 7, Bryan, would have authorized California colleges to offer priority admission to descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. AB 57, McKenna, would have allocated 10% of California Dream for all programs to descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. AB 62, McKenna, would have required the Civil Rights Department to establish a process for victims of racially motivated eminent domain to seek restitution. AB 742, El Harari, I just love that last name.
Sade El Harari. Assemblywoman Sade El Harari, Democrat, Los Angeles.
Yeah. Every time I see that last name, it's just like, oh, this is going to be fun. Would have added descendants of U.S. chattel slavery to the list of groups eligible for expedited processing of professional licenses. And AB 766, Sharp Collins, I believe she's down there in Southern California, would have expanded reporting as part of existing equity analysis of executive branch agencies. All right, brother.
Yeah, that's Assemblywoman. Yeah, that's Assemblywoman Lachey Sharp Collins, Democrat, San Diego, the Mesa area. And she's also a member of the California Legislative Black Caucus.
Yes, sir. All right.
Mm-hmm. So
I know Isaac Bryan, he was a little disappointed. He came out with how his AB 7 should have passed by Governor Newsom, but he was like, nah.
Yeah, he and Bryan, Assemblyman Bryan, Democrat, Ladera Heights, Southern California to be exact. He had a lot of support for this bill. But then, I just feel that there was just a lot of opposition, working behind the scenes because certain laws, to dismantle of affirmative action, Proposition 209 here in the state, which doesn't, allow race-based programs or any kind. That's including college institutions. So it was just a lot facing them. I really do think it was a really good bill. I think it was put together well, but when you already have certain laws on the books, that just made the climb uphill a lot more difficult because he was really passionate about that, and so was other people who supported that. And at least we do know that, it came out of both houses, the state Senate and the state Assembly, to get as far as they did. And there was some hope that Newsom, would sign AB 7, to allow the public and private colleges to give preferential admission to descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. But that is not to be. I'm pretty sure other people have, and I know I certainly will when hopefully by this week, to see if he's going to bring it back. And will there be any change? I know there was some amendments to it along the way. The bill was asking, it wasn't demanding that they provide admission to this certain group. It was their choice, but it would have been in place, and at least the top priority if that had been done and stuff. So the language was changed a little bit to try to soften some areas, but it all comes down to the pen, and the pen was inked by Governor Newsom, and he vetoed this bill.
Yeah, I think another two bills that were definitely, I think some people were eyeing on, were AB 57, that McKenna bill, which was the California Dream for All funds.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I mean, even though it claims to be for descendants, that program is pretty much for everybody. So that's just a heads up on that one. Even though I guess the bill is more carving out for so-called descendants. But supposedly that program, for those that might be able to take advantage of it, you still might be able to. I know they're funding it for, I think, 2026 might come about. So for those that are interested, you can definitely take a look to the Dream for All program. And also AB 62, once again, Tina McKenna. I think that was the eminent domain bill, basically.
Yes, that's that would have created a process for victims of racially motivated eminent domain to seek restitution. So if your family property was taken by illegal means due to your race, they were going to put a process together where you could invest those claims, and hopefully somewhere down the line provide compensation. I was really looking forward to that, to see what would happen to that, because it's a similar bill that Senator Bradford had last year that made it to the governor's desk, but was vetoed. Right. SB 1050. All right. And it was vetoed because it was it was impossible to institute, implement SB 1050 because there was no bureau or agency put together, which that bill, SB 1403, didn't even make it to the desk. It didn't even get a vote, final vote on the assembly floor. So in his veto message for 1050, SB 1050, which is similar to AB 62, McKenna's bill, it was impossible. So now you veto AB 62 and you come up with something else. Oh, it would be, in order to put this together, you would have to adjudicate this by lawyers and judges, and that's going to cost money, and the budget is this, and the budget, it's just something else to kick the can down the road, Brother Glass, because, and a lot of people were looking forward to see if AB 62 would pass, because some of those people that I'm talking about, I'm not going to name names, they attended those California Reparation Task Force meetings, and they testified what happened to their family who had property that was taken by eminent domain, by governments around the state. Right. We already know about the situation down there in Bruce Beach, okay, which that family, after over 100 years, were able to get the property back, sort of, but they had a payout. But they were able to, reclaim that property, but they had a payout and things like that. So we look, these people who families endured the same pains of losing their property, and some of these properties were taken and were supposed to be used for something else. They was not. Right. They were not. Okay, but I would just say, certain areas, Russell City, which is a different thing because the city of Hayward is trying to make amends to what's happening there. That's Russell City was right between Hayward and Oakland, and eminent domain was used to, not only confiscate land from the Black community as well, the Latino community as well too, back in the early 1960s. Then you have this thing that's going on with Ebony Beach Club in Santa Monica, which Where's My Land? They're involved. I forget what the Black real estate developer's name was. He was going to build a beach club for, African American right there and there. But the city of Santa Monica, they used eminent domain and took their property. Okay, that's going to be litigated somewhere down the line, and that never happened. That was in the late 1950s, early 1960s as well. So, and then this thing that's going up here in the gold country, where gold discovery up in Coloma, there's about 2 or 3 black families in that area who lost their property, families that lost their property due to eminent domain. So, the bottom line is what I'm getting at. I've spoke to these families, especially within the last 48 hours, a couple of them, and they're really upset about this because it's just, okay, last year was this year is something else, and this bill still gets vetoed. That right there would have definitely been something monumental if that bill was passed, if that bill was signed by Governor Newsom, AB 62 by Assembly Member Tina McKenna, Democrat, Inglewood thing. That was something I was looking forward to see what's happening. I'm like, okay, we're definitely going to open the door wide open now. If something like that could take place, it was vetoed. So I'm just like I said about AB 7, which was authored by Assemblyman Isaac Bryan. I'm going to ask Assemblywoman Tina McKenna what she's going to do about this particular bill. Is it going to bring it back for a third time? These are a lot of questions that has to be asked. There's like 4 or 5 bills from that package, that road to repair package that was produced by the California Legislative Black Caucus that was vetoed. There were more vetoes than there were bills that were signed into law.
Yeah, I think you hear me.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because sometimes, man, I know when I'm jumping screens and so forth, sometimes I might not come out clear, but hopefully I am coming out. As a matter of fact, let me just make sure that the audio is still good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I am clear. All right, so I just wanted to bring the bill up real quick, and then I'm just going to go over some notes, and then we're going to go ahead and then wrap it up because we greatly appreciate everybody's time here. The only thing, man, I was kind of a little disappointed about this bill, comparatively speaking to the last bill, is racially motivated is kind of ambiguous, and it's not really specific to obviously freedmen or the descendants here of chattel enslavement. So I think that's the one thing that I was kind of, even though it says in here descendant of a person, but it just goes descendant of a person who was the property was taken. So let me just be blunt, it's kind of more of like a all lives matter bill, which isn't specific to us. Now it is what it is, no problem, but just call it what it is, right? If you're gonna call it this repair package or something specific for us, then it needs to be specified as such. If it's not, then it is what it is. But don't, come up here and say it's one thing and it's not. And I'm not saying this isn't good policy, because it's great policy. I think overall eminent domain needs to be looked at greater. And if this bill ever does get through, it would be a great idea in a process.
Yes, it would be.
To get started for anybody that has been eminent domain. I know my aunt, she got eminent domain, and it happened. You know what I'm saying? But to call it part of the repair, it's kind of like a different topic. But I'm sorry.
I'll say this about eminent domain here in the state of California. It appears that it can work, for good causes. And then again, it can work against you, as we can see, through AB 62, at least some of the people experiences. Because I remember many, many years ago when, and may she rest in peace, when Lauren Hammond was she was a city council member here in Sacramento. Like I said, may she rest in peace, passed away just recently. And in her district, there was a nuisance corner store in Oak Park, to be exact. All right. It was always getting calls about crime, all type of activities going on. And she was able to use eminent domain to shut that corner store down. Now, it wasn't owned by any black people or anything like that, but it was a nuisance. I mean, there was people getting shot right out in front of this particular mom and pop store. And she used eminent domain to shut that down. Okay, that's the goodness that it can. And but in these other cases, and at least some of the documents that I've seen, especially the ones up in gold country, Coloma, where gold was discovery. All right, there were black families that lost property due to eminent domain, and Japanese people of Japanese descent that lost property up in there. And the reason why it was used because they were using terms like run down, dilapidated, beyond repairs, things like that. And specifically, there were some fruit orchards in this area that was being ran by these black families. So they said they wasn't being taken properly. These people were living off their land because they were selling these fruits and things like that. But when they found out later on that this is going to be a landmark because gold was found here, let's go in here and take that too. The state said, let's go in there and take that property. All right. So that's where the bad comes. So I'm just giving you an example of the good and the bad of eminent domain. We'll just have to see. But I agree with you, what you said on that as well. But I mean, because I had this discussion, with an attorney just recently about, some of these bills, are not reparation bills. We had this discussion, you and I, Brother Moya, anyway. But I guess it's just some of these people figure that, this is the time to weave that in, blend it into what everything else is happening, try to make amends to some of the racial harms that, the black community has been experiencing in this state. So, eminent domain, man, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky.
It is, brother. So one thing or bill that wasn't mentioned that the governor did sign is SB 515 or approved, I should say. I don't know if he signed it, but it definitely got
No,
approved.
he did sign it, but
did he sign it?
Okay. If you look, yes, he did sign that. That is a SB 518, and that was that bill was authored by Senator Laura Richardson, Democrat, San Pedro, who's also a member of the CLBC, and that bill is regarding local government demographic data collection for specific groups, the African American groups, because they got us all bunched into one. So now I can say African American, Afro American, Caribbean. It just breaks it down into subgroup. But that bill wasn't even a part of the Road to Repair package. I don't think a lot of people understand that. At least some of these reporters around here, they missed that part. That I've had discussion with Senator Richardson's office. That was never meant to be a reparation or repair to Road to Repair bill from the get-go. Okay, and that's a reincarnation of the bill that what's the brother from Pasadena, Chris Holden. Chris Holden, right. This time he got over it. Last year, I don't even know if it made it to the governor's desk. So this is a reincarnation of that bill because he was trying to do it when he was still in office. As you know, he turned out, Assemblyman Holden, he turned out last year. So this is something that had been going on for a few years. CJAC, Chris Lodson and Kim and Darlene and all of them, they were part of, making this happen for SB 515, not 518, 515. And that was never meant to be a reparation bill coming out of Senator Richardson's office anyway. But it's there, it's signed, and there's something that we can look for, in the future as well, because not only they did that when Chris did a bill that was signed into law just on the state level, now this is going to trickle down to not only the state, but the county and city as well. They have to use that same data when they put it on certain applications. SB 515.
Absolutely. SB 515, man.
Okay.
So
and that it doesn't go into effect until January 2027. So hopefully a lot of, between now and then, a lot of people will pick up more information about it.
Absolutely. So yeah, shout out to Lord Richardson and everybody who is championing that. That's definitely something that's gonna, benefit the freedmen community.
Oh yeah, and it had to be done because the Japanese, I mean not the Japanese, but the Asian community, a few years back in 2016, they had a bill that was signed into law, something similar to that, so they could not just be Asians all grouped in one. Now you got, if you Korea, North Korea, Cambodia, Hmong, Chinese, Japanese, those are broken down in subgroups as it should be. So now, with us, with the Black community, that's about to appear on these applications, folks. So you can check that box, whatever you feel like you are, what you represent.
The diversity of America. All right, man. All right.
We're always the last one on the totem pole to get these things done. Huh?
Ain't that all kind of facts? All right, brother. So let's move on to some of these other notes. So just also want to let everybody know who don't know. Currently, there's $18 million being set aside for the Bureau, SB 518, Education and Outreach, and the CSU, California State University Research Process, SB 437. So that's just something to note. Also, SB 518, and I wanted to talk in particular. I know we've actually had a show on the differences between last year, it was SB 1403, which, Tony, you did mention, the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency in 2024. But in SB 518, the Descendants of American Slavery Bureau bill, there is a little bit differences, but I just wanted to note this very specific line in the bill because I think it's important. Section 1, Section 12910B, it says, addresses the lasting harms of disenfranchisement, segregation, discrimination, exclusion, neglect, and violence impacting both descendants. Okay, we got that. Both descendants and communities harmed as described in chapters 1 to 13, inclusive of the California Reparations Task Force report. Okay, if you guys want to do your ChatGPT on this to see what were some of the communities harms, y'all could do that. Do your own research. I'm all a big proponent of doing that. But if you do look up in the Reparations Task Force, it does mention some other communities, Latino, Mexican, Filipino, LGBTQ, and I'm sure there's probably more that were mentioned in the California Reparations Task Force report. So that little line there is a little tricky. So what do you got to say about that, brother?
Yeah, SB 518, the Bureau for Descendants of American Slavery within the Civil Rights Department. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting bill, going forward. Of course, it was signed into law. It's kind of what a knockoff of 1403, kind of, but ish. Okay. So this department is supposed to be handling, outreach, genealogy research, and future reparation programs. We'll see how that shake out, because now that is going to be housed in the Civil Rights Department. Okay, this is one thing that's kind of had me confused as well. The Civil Rights Department is not part of the Department of Justice, which does have a Civil Rights Department too, but that's a totally separate item. The Civil Rights Department will be like the overseer of this bureau, which means they're going to have to appoint an executive director. Okay, they're going to have to staff it. That's basically what I'm saying. And I've been having these conversations with people, in particular, one attorney. We'll see who is going to assume these positions and carry out the duties of this bureau. That's the next thing. As you said, $6 million is going to this department to stand it up. And it's there. I think it's there for the long haul. There's no end date on this, which is a good thing too. And then we'll see what happened with SB 437. Now, both of these bills were authored by Senator Akilah Weber Pearson, Democrat, San Diego, chair of CLBC. She did work on these types of things. So there's really much I don't have to say. I just do have a lot of questions now that SB 518 been signed into law, what direction is going to be and who's going to be, who's going to be administering, some of the activities that, come out this department, and how CRD is going to carry those, carry this out and stuff. And I know CLBC will have their hands in it, as far as the operation and things. Something definitely to look forward, but as somebody told me, at least for SB 518, and a lot of people wasn't on board with this thing, it is a start. It is a start. And as a matter of fact, that's what the former chair of the California Reparation Task Force did tell me, and I will throw her name out there. Camila V. Moore, Esquire, attorney, Los Angeles based stuff. We do have a start. We do have something that we can start with. And we can do something and start working within this bureau to try to get some of these things done. Because I think we're somewhere, I always hear, the longest journey start with the first step. So SB 518 is that first step, Brother Glass.
All right. Absolutely, man. I was trying to find my cover, but I can't seem to find it. But anyway, I did a program on the definition between what a agency is, which
in
is
a bureau.
In a bureau. So an agency is just a general term for you know what, before we get out of here, I'm gonna try to find the link and I'm gonna put it in the chat so everybody could see it, because I go more in depth. So agency is just a general term for basically all government entities, and then within the agency terminology, there's other terms like departments, bureau, agency, commission, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll go on the list. So I'm gonna try to put that link in the description for those who have yet to watch that, because I break that whole thing down, man. But anyway, let's go on to the last point, and then I'm gonna go look up for that link. In 2025, right, there is no funding mechanism, unlike SB 1331, which shout out to our good brother, Senator Stephen Bradford, who turned out last year. Authored SB 1331, the fund, brother. So you want to kind of elaborate on that? And let me find this link, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Man, that's one bill. What was SB 1331? Was that didn't make it to that was one of the bills that didn't make it to, right? That was
yeah, that's one of the ones that got blocked.
Yeah,
I don't know how to put it.
It was supposed to be a fund for reparation and repair and justice. That I do know, and the fund was intended to finance policy addressing historical harms to descendants of enslaved people and Black people, before 1900. That I don't know about. That bill, I don't know that they didn't bring that back in any type of shape or form, though, Brother Glass.
They didn't.
So I was really good. No, right, because that was one of the two bills that did not get a vote. From the assembly, which was directed by the CLBC, which I do know about that. But the one thing we do know, Bradford had the right intentions, about instituting these certain type of reparation bills. But yeah. So there's not too much more I can say about that, but just basically what happened to the last Black August, that everybody's still uproar about stuff. So. But I think right now, was what about SB 437? That's the bill, because now they're going to do another quote unquote study. Another study that we need, and it's going to be in the hands of the CSU system. And I've been talking to certain individuals, attorneys to be exact, about how that's going to be done, because there's 3 schools the name's been floating around, so it's nothing official, but I'll just say it anyway. Cal State Dominguez Hills, Cal State Sacramento, also known as Sacramento State University, and San Diego State University might be one or all 3 of the choices to conduct this study for how to proceed with the reparations.
Absolutely, man. So if you could see on the screen here, agency or bureau, check that out. I also left it in the chat in the link. So, I break down the whole difference between an agency or a bureau, because I think, man, before we wrap it up here, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because here, let me stop sharing that screen here and go back to the difference. Okay. So I get it. I understand that we've made a little progress by passing SB 518. However, and this is just my humble opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody else, even on behalf of Women in the Mass Media Group. By the way, shout out to Kim Mims and Darlene Crumity.
Shout out.
The family. But we have to look at what was originally supposed to come out of not only the California Reparations Task Force, but the following year when these bills were presented to the legislature, right? And what Senator Bradford in particular was representing, which, let's just call it what it is. It was a great start and a great foundation to move forward, at least here in California, and then eventually to the federal level, to where we can go, as the saying, so goes California, so goes the nation. I mean, you had a agency, right, that would have been specifically for the freedmen community population. You had a mechanism, right, to start it. Now, may not have cash yet, but we're talking about the building blocks to do it. So I'm just comparing. You could be mad at anybody else or whatever. We're giving you the information, right? So be mad all you want. Just telling you what it is and what has transpired since then. So we had these mechanisms set into place, and this year, granted, the Bureau was here, there is no mechanisms like we had last year. So we have to do that comparison. We have to do that study to say, look, which one could be and is more beneficial for the freedmen community at this particular point in time. And obviously last year's bills would have at least started that conversation to where we need to be going. This SB 518, I mean, it's just leaving too many holes of all lives matter in it. I mean, it just is. And SB 437, I mean, come on. I mean, it's still an extension. There's so many times that Michael Willis, genealogist, said in those meetings, he was like, yes, bro, we've already been doing this. Why do we need another study? Like, he is the man, and a lot of other people, women as well, who are great genealogists who've been doing this for numbers of years. And I'm sure at one point the CSU is going to be reaching out to the same people, but it should have been reversed. Like, if anything, the Bureau should have just been set up and then said, okay, let's then work with some other institutions like CSU if we need to reach out with some resources. Why are we like going backward on this whole thing? So these are just some questions as people are journalists that we got to ask. Like, we were at this level, and so you're calling it progress, but is it really progress?
Yes, is it? Is it? I know I had these type of discussions about some of the questions that we have going forward as far as the journalists. So there are plenty of questions that have to take place going forward with this, because as you said, and Mr. Willis, he never detracted from anything he said when he was talking about genealogy. And I'll tell you what somebody told me behind that. Okay, we don't wasted a whole year, because they could have started this a year ago, or at least at the top of this year, 2025, back in January, and we'll be further along that we have. All right, because not to forget, And I'll never forget, in March 2022, when there was like 9, 10, 11 genealogists that testified in front of the California Reparation Task Force, and all of them had legitimate things to say about how this process could be done going forward. And we just kind of like stopped in our tracks to say, hey, let's do another study and let the CSU do that. That's just, from what I view, through my reporting. And then when you talk about these type of questions, and of course it has to be asked, even though, time has passed, how did we get to this point? Where did we stop and say, hey, no genealogists, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put it in the hands of a 23 campus system, CSU. When did we just say these genealogists don't mean anything? I'm not going to say they don't mean anything, but why did we do that? And these people who've been doing this for years. You understand what I'm saying, Brother Glass? Okay, why are we, doing this? Why did we stop them? Why did we put the wall up on them? I heard there was meetings with them, with some of them, including Mr. Willis. It's just still a lot of unanswered questions. And I guess to move forward, we have to go back and ask these type of questions before we, could come to a resolution to move forward. Pay attention to some of my writing right now, folks, because there's some stories that I'm about to put out through California Black Media. I'm not going to mention it because I do want you to read the story, about the next step. And what the CBC should be doing, going in that direction.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, hey, brother. We have to ask these questions. And as a matter of fact, thanks. It's a reminder. I should be posting this tomorrow or maybe Tuesday, but most likely I might even post it today. I don't know. We'll see. But I wanted us to get this show done first before I post it. So be on the lookout for, and I'll probably put it on the the Mass Media Twitter account. It's called California Repair Bills. What's next? Ironically. Mm-hmm. So that article is going to be going up. I don't know when. It shouldn't be. I think you should be able to watch it. I don't think there's what do they call it? A pay. We have to pay for content to read it. A paywall or something like that. I think this one should be free, y'all. So if you want to go watch it, go ahead. But we do appreciate any support that you can give us. By even sharing, subscribing. It is free. We don't ask y'all a lot. But please hit that thumbs up, share, subscribe. Hit us up on Twitter. And the whole nine, brother. Where can people reach out, brother, before I super wrap it up?
Well, if you go to the X platform, just type in Tony Ray Harvey, @Tony Ray Harvey, and you got me from there. Also have my own website where I produce certain articles, and that's publicityagents.org, publicityagents.org. You can find out some of those stories there, and you will see some, some sports stories as well. But we're going to be mixing in, some more political stuff as we go along. And you can always find my articles online through California Black Media and any one of these Black platforms across the state under my birth name, of course, Antonio Ray Harvey. Just Google Antonio Ray Harvey and reparations or whatever, public policy, politics, and you're in the right place. Thank you, Brother Glass.
Thank you, sir, for your time and your commitment, man. I mean, brother, it's how many years, man, when you think about we've been reporting not only on reparations, man, but just being journalists and media. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting because and as you say that, because I jumped into the radio sphere, the radio airwaves, and I have a show. Thank you. I have a show on the KYWS 92.9 FM AM right here in the Sacramento area. I call it Society of the Fourth Estate. And Society is spelled SOULCIETY of the Fourth Estate. That airs every Tuesdays and Thursday at 7 a.m. in the morning. And if you missed the morning show, you can catch it in the afternoon. It reruns. It repeats itself at 5 p.m. in the afternoon on both of those days, Tuesdays and Thursday. It's just part of, this journey of doing these things, Brother Glass, for so many years that you try to seek out these certain platforms to reach the people. I'm doing this for the people, for the community. And I expect them, to follow through, at their own discretion and when they have time available. But it's all out there because, as I know what you're alluding to, we're putting this information out there for you, and we've been doing it, for X amount of years. So I think we have the skills and expertise to reach, the audience that we need to listen to these type of things. But yeah, I'm 35 years running in this business.
35 years young.
I could go further than that when I was used to deliver like two or three different newspaper entities when I was growing up. I could go back that far, but as far on the editorial side, I've been at it for 35 years, and I love what I do, and I really do love, communicating for the Black voice too. It's just a passion. It's a lifestyle.
Appreciate you. And for those, if you can see on the cover there on the left, that's a picture that I took. That was at the CLBC press conference.
Yes, I see that. Yep.
Yeah. We both attended. Yeah. Which was, I don't know, man. The energy was just a little different this year than the previous year, man.
Yeah, it was. There were more this time around, because remember, Assemblywoman Lori Wilson was the chair at the time, and they were really, enthusiastic about what they were doing at this time. But with Senator Akilah Weber at the helm, and at this, I think it was February the 20th, when we had this meeting at this state capitol, when they introduced this road to repair package, they're just a little bit more reserved about how they were going to proceed. I could tell about that too, stuff. And I know, it's a tough job for them because not only, they're trying to put out these reparation bills, I have a clear understanding that, they do have constituents, they do represent a section of the a population that put them in office to come here, to advocate for, some of the things that's going on in their area. I understand that too. I do want them to understand that. So I know it's a lot of work, what they put into, but then again, I mean, some of these things that we're countering right now, the time is now.
Absolutely.
The time is now.
Time is now, brother. So,
that's a good picture, though, that you got.
Yeah,
there.
Man.
That's the first time I'm seeing it, yeah.
And I think that was, man, the first time that I met, what's her name? The KCRA3, Vala. What's her name?
Ashley Zavala, right.
Vala.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was just basically the political reporter, but now she's like the political director of KCRA3 too.
There you go.
She got a promotion. She got her own show called Politics 360. Of course, you can see her all on any type of these social media platforms and things. She's all over the place. And she does
we gotta get Chris on there, man. Where'd she go? Yes. Like or something?
Yes. You are right. And I just saw Chris on Dominique DePrima's show Friday.
Yep.
Because she had that thing, Mr. Prima had Reparation Fridays, I think that's what she called it. And she had Chris come on there, explain some things from his perspective about some of these bills that were signed and vetoed. But Ashley, yes, I love working around her. Like I said, she's not shy about asking the tough questions. She don't care what party you're from. She's just trying to get, some information for the public, the mass, the masses, things like that. And she does really well around here too. So I respect the work that she does. And I think a lot of people at least in the reparation area, they respect her too. Then, then you got Danielle Pardo for Spectrum and Asan Wallace over here at Fox 40 here in Sacramento as well. And he also do a lot of reporting for the Central Valley, including Bakersfield and Fresno, those areas and stuff. We got some really good reporters around here. Lindsay Holden, and I know you've seen that byline too, Brother Glass, for Politico. around here. They are really passionate about the things that they do, and I try to follow what they're doing. And I think it's like Wise, Wendy Fry at Cal Matters. Another good one is
Wendy Fry. Yep.
Yes, okay. Have no problem, getting out, going in and asking these people about the tough questions, the concerns of all communities, including the Black community as well. So just throwing those names out there.
Appreciate that, brother. So we're gonna wrap it up here, man. So everybody, go check out our good brother Antonio Ray Harvey in the building. He's been putting in great work. So support what he's doing and support us here. And you can just like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. Have a wonderful Sunday and be on the lookout for what's coming up, because we are not done, family. We are absolutely not done. So we've been here for about an hour, $1:30, and we appreciate your time and energy in everything that we're doing, everybody. So take care of yourselves, and as always, we will see you next time. Peace and reparations.
Peace, love, and solidarity, folks. I'm out.
Please move items 71 and 72 to the inactive file.
I just want to know, what did you know about bills not being brought to the floor? There were two critical reparation bills, Senate Bill 1403 and Senate Bill 13.
Forgive me, because there's over 1,000. I'm not very good at the numeric, but
it's gonna. The analysis said it's only a couple $1 million to stand it up.
Peanuts.
And his response was, we want to do it in a different way. We don't want to do it through creating a whole new bureau. We want to do it through the UC system.
So this is Assemblyman Mr. Bryan. He's mad I brought up the reparations vote. So he's preventing me from speaking. And he's trying to block my access to it.
Madam Speaker, I ask that we take up file item 71, SB 1331.
If you decide to start your family tree even without the DNA, 8 or 9 times out of 10, you're going to find your family.
A great number of African Americans can trace their lineage to the period of enslavement.
Lemert was developed by Walter H. Lemert, and in his designing this area, he actually had covenants to where they would not sell to Black people.
I supported the bill all session.
Then bring the bill.
Will you vote?
CLBC, can you give them a grade 1 to 10?
This current crop, as of now, it's a negative.
Vote for the bill, Mr.
Bring the bill.
Will you vote for the bill?
Bring it up.
Will you vote for reparations?
Bring it up.
I would love it.
Bring it up.
Let's vote for reparations
Bring
together.
It's a spirit of anti-Blackness, and we must call it out. And so I'm going to call out on August 31st, 2024, that the California Legislative Black Caucus, the majority of them, and the governor allowed the enemy to use them to try to keep us down and keep us as bottom-class citizens.
Just think that all the other members have at least about 10 years left. So we're not going anywhere.
I've heard it's slightly changed, and some of the advocates who were part of the coalition last go around are now expressing concerns of whether or not they'll still be able to stand behind it if those changes are not corrected.
In so many years, it will hardly be no Black folks left in California. We love y'all, we thank y'all, and we demanding reparations right now. First of all, America, from the evidence that they gave us, you're guilty.
What happened on August 31st, 2024 was a betrayal.
We know that if we don't have our hand in this process as much as we possibly can, it can be corrupted from the outside. So in terms of our role isn't done until they're issuing the checks for our reparations.
The time for reparations is now.
Yeah.
Right now. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want?